Hi, guys. Happy Friday afternoon. Hopefully, you have a wonderful weekend planned and we can get our homework done and get on to your weekend. So, let's get started. We are reading tables to find the information to solve multiple step rate problems. And we're actually on page 170 right now. So if you make sure you have your textbook out and your composition book and a pencil, that would be great. If not, pause it and go grab it. So it says the table shows the fees at a parking lot. The first hour is free. The second hour is $1.75. After the second hour, every hour is $2.50 per hour. So Ben parked his car there from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the same day. How much did he pay for parking? So the first thing we need to figure out is the total number of hours that he parked. So we would take 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and just like it shows here, it's 5 hours. The total number of hours is 5. Parking fee for the first hour, remember, is 0. The parking fee for the second hour is $1.75. And the parking fee for the last 3 hours, because we had a total of 5 hours. First one was free, second one was $1.75. That equals 2 hours between the first and the second. So the last 3 hours would be at $2.50. So just like they show us here, the total parking fee would be 0 for the first hour, $1.75 for the second hour, and then they took $2.50 and times it by 3 to make $7.50 for the last 3 hours. So if we add all of those up, it would make $9.25 that Ben paid for parking. So remember, the first thing that you want to do is always ask, what are they asking us to find in the problem? And it was, how much did he pay for parking? Then the next thing we want to say is, how many total hours, so that I can figure out the rate by taking the dollar amounts and timesing it by my hours. And so we need to make sure that we find first the unit rate for the hours would be 3 hours at 250, 1 at 175, and 1 free, and then we just add them all up. So let's look at problem number 3. The table shows the charges for renting a bicycle. Tom rented a bicycle from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the same day. How much did he pay for renting the bicycle? So I'd like you guys to go through and do that one on your own. It's pretty simple. If you remember what we just did here, we find out the number of hours and then we go ahead and use our table. One hint I will give you is that on this table, it gives it by every half hour after the first hour. The first hour is $3. I don't know if you can see that very well. I'll zoom in a little bit. The first hour is $3, and so what you're going to need to do to find the hours after that, it gives every half hour. So remember, if we take half hour and times it by 2, it will give us how much it is for a full hour. So if you times that by 2, it would actually be $5. So that's kind of a hint, and it actually tells you that right here. And then when you go farther down, it's going to go ahead and say if you times that by 2, then you will have a full hour rate for the rest of your hours. So if you guys would pause the video and do that and write it in your composition book, and then we will come back and work on number 4. Okay, before we get to number 4, they have a practice problem here for us that will help us with number 4. And so we're going to go ahead and go through that so that we can get through number 4 a little easier. Andy needs new batteries for his video game controller, and he's trying to decide between 2 brands. A package of 2 brand A batteries cost $3.20. So this is brand A, and it costs $3.20. And the manufacturer claims the batteries will last for about 20 hours. So they will last for 20 hours. And we'll put our hours here. This brand will last for 20 hours. But brand B, a package of 2 brand B, so up here he's buying 2 brand A, down here we're buying 2 brand B batteries, and the cost is now for brand B is $2.80, which is cheaper than our brand A, but it claims it will last 14 hours. So you can buy something cheaper, but it's not going to last the 20 hours that brand A will. So it says, which battery should he buy? Explain why you think so. And this is a very practical way. You guys may need to buy batteries for something, or if you're looking to find the best deal on a present you're buying for somebody. So this is very practical for you to do. First, find the number of hours of battery time Andy will get per dollar. So essentially we're finding the rate. If we take how many hours it will last and divide it and make it into a unit rate by saying, let's find how much for 1 hour. And if we do the same for brand B, bring it down and divide it so that we find out how much for 1 hour, we should be able to compare those easier, since right now none of our numbers are the same. So let's go ahead and break that down, and they show you how to do that right here in the right here in your book. Which battery should Andy buy? First, the number of hours. So they took 320 for our brand A and divided by 20 hours. So they went ahead and found out that in 6 hours and 20.25, which would be a quarter, just like 100 is how many pennies are in a dollar, and 25 would be a quarter. A quarter would be 1/4, so 6¼ hours here. So Andy will get 6 and 0.25 or a quarter hours of battery time per dollar when they divided these. Now brand B, if we do the same, we divide $2.80 and 14, that gives us 5 hours for $1. So he will get 5 hours of battery time per dollar for brand B. So because of that, we can look and we can find out brand A gets $6 or 6 hours and a quarter, and brand B, he gets 5 hours of battery time per dollar, because 6¼ hours is much greater than 5 hours. Brand A is actually a better buy, and he should buy brand A. So if you guys would take the guided practice number 4 and go ahead and do that on your own, go ahead and pause the video, do that on your own, and then we will go over the question in class on Monday. So go ahead and pause the video and do number 4. Okay. Number 5, we're going to do a little practice before we get to number 5 here. So if you'll turn to page 172, which is the next page over that we were on, and Mr. Anthony drives his truck at a speed of 45 kilometers per hour. At this speed, how far does he travel in 2 hours? So in 1 hour, Mr. Anthony travels 45, it told us that up here, at a speed of 45 miles per 1 hour. And in 2 hours, it would just be 45 kilometers, and we would times it by 2, because now we're talking about 2 hours. So if we do 45 times 2, it equals 90 kilometers. At this speed, how far does he travel in 5 hours? Well, we already have our unit rate up here. It's talking about 1 hour. So we know if we take whatever hours that we have, and then we times it by 45 kilometers, that will give us that total. So just like they did down here, I'm going to push my book up a little bit. Just like they did down here, in 5 hours, Mr. Anthony would travel 45, which is our speed. 45 kilometers is what we saw at the top. The time is 5 hours, and it will equal the distance he can travel. So if you look right here, way back on a couple other pages, we had a formula that said this: speed equals distance and divided by time. Well, now it says, but what happens if you're looking for the distance? Then you can change that all around and say, well, if you're looking for distance instead of speed, like in this formula, the equal means this is what I'm looking for, so I do this. Well, on this one, it's saying what is the distance was our question. So it says if you're looking for distance, then you just take the information that they give you, which is our speed and our time, and you divide those. So hopefully that makes sense. These are all kind of interchangeable depending on what they're asking for. So before they were asking for a speed, right now this problem is asking for a distance, so we can do speed over time. So this triangle here kind of shows you that if we're looking for distance over speed and time, these are the three things if you're looking for a rate that they're going to ask you. They're either going to ask you for the distance, the speed, or the time. And so distance will equal speed and time, or speed will equal distance over time. So hopefully that's going to help you as we move on here. Also, remember these are called formulas. Relating distance, speed, and time is often written as distance equals your rate times time. So sometimes they will say rate for speed. So if we go up here, remember we said we have two methods on the top of page 73. We have two methods that we can find things, and I want you guys to always try both methods, but make sure that you try both of them just to make sure you know, actually I tried both and I know that this one's going to work better. So you can either say I want to use units, or you can just do the multiplication. If you're a visual person, this might help you to understand it and get to the answer. If you're not, this one might just work as well. So a race car can travel at a speed of 175 kilometers per hour, so every 1 hour. How far can the racing car travel in 3 hours? So we take our unit rate of 175 kilometers per 1 hour, and we're going to say, well, if 1 hour is 175 kilometers, all I have to do is take my speed right here and times it by 3, which is my time for hours, and it equals 525 kilometers is the distance. So it's still following our distance equals speed over time. Method 2, you can just go ahead and do the multiplication. Up here they said, okay, well if this is 1 hour, 1 unit is 175, then 3 units would be 175 3 times, and they did the multiplication here. Or you don't have to write the units for method 2, you just say, okay, I know distance equals speed over time, so I take my speed times it by time, and it equals 525. So the distance it can travel is 525 kilometers in 3 hours. So if you guys would do practice problem number 5 on your own and try both methods, and then you can really see which one you enjoy doing more. So go ahead and pause the video and do number 5.